Alright, just 1 week left in 2022, and the last champions of the year have been crowned. Last week we looked at the worst teams in the top 18 leagues of the world. Today we've got the champion ball clubs of 40 different countries. These teams were the champions of the highest level of baseball in their countries. Some professional, some amateur, some in between. Only one per country, with one exception. As always, I'll mention both the summer and winter leagues of Mexico, since they're on a similar level. Cuba also has 2 leagues now worth mentioning, but the new league is going on right now and won't crown its champion till after the new year. If this were a complete list, there'd be many more. The information's not easy to find for a lot of countries. If you know of any, mention it down in the comments, even if it's just a 4-team amateur league that plays on a soccer field on weekends, as long as it's the champion of the highest level of baseball in that country. One league that will not be mentioned here is the Australian League. They canceled their 2021-22 season because the country's COVID guidelines were too hard to work around, so there was no champion there in 2022. They are playing again now, but won't hold a championship series until after the new year. Panama had the first league to crown a champion in 2022, so we'll start there. The LPBP, better known as ProBase, was returning after a canceled season the year before, and there were only 3 teams playing a 21-game schedule. Astronautas de los Santos were first in the regular season at 16-5. Then they swept the final series in 3 games over Federales de Chiriquí. It was their first title since 2019. In the Dominican Republic, the champions of Lidom were Gigantes del Cibao, first in the regular season standings at 23-17, tied for first in the round robin. They met Estrellas Orientales in the final series, where they won 4-1. Gigantes are Lidom's newest team, having joined in 1996. It was only their second title. The first was in 2015. In Puerto Rico, the LBPRC champions for the second year in a row were Criollos de Caguas, second in the regular season standings at 20-12. They met Indios de Mayagüez in the final series once again, winning it 4-1. It was their 4th title in the last 6 years, and their 20th overall, the most in league history. In Venezuela, Navegantes del Magallanes won the LVBP crown, first in the regular season with a record of 32-17, tied for first in the postseason round robin, then dethroned defending champions Caribes de Anzoátegui in 7 games. First title for Navegantes since the 2013-14 season, and their 13th overall, second most in the 76-year history of the LVBP. A repeat champion in Colombia's LPB, Caimanes de Barranquilla claimed their league record 12th championship. They were first in the regular season, 1 game ahead of Vaqueros de Monteria, second in the round robin, 1 game behind Vaqueros. Then in the final series, Vaqueros took Game 1, Caimanes won the rest, 4-1 for their second straight LPB title. In the Mexican Pacific League, or LMP, Charros de Jalisco, 36-31 during the regular season, and the 4th seed in the 8-team playoffs, reached the championship series and beat 8th-seeded Tomateros de Culiacan in 7 games. Charros have only been in the LMP since 2014 and have already won 2 titles. The last one came in 2019. Those 6 league champions met in Santo Domingo for the 64th edition of the Caribbean Series. Astronautas and Criollos were eliminated after the first round. In the knockout stage, Gigantes beat Charros, Caimanes beat Navegantes. Then in the final game, Caimanes shocked everyone with a 4-1 win over Gigantes. This was only the 3rd year the Colombian League sent its champion to the Caribbean Series. In the previous 2 editions, the Colombian team couldn't even manage a win. This time, Caimanes won 5 times to bring home the first Caribbean Series title to Colombia. Nicaragua's LBPN was won by Leones de León for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. They were 20-20 during the regular season, 6-6 in the round robin, just good enough to reach the final series, where they were facing defending champions and clear favorites, Gigantes de Rivas. Gigantes won the first 2, but Leones prevailed in 7 games, which included a walk-off in the 13th inning of Game 6. It was their 7th league title, now just 1 behind Indios del Bor for the most in league history. The Cuban National Series, usually a winter league, became a spring league this year, played from late January till June. Champions were once again Alazanes de Granma. After tying for second in the regular season with a record of 43-32, they fought through the quarterfinals and semifinals to reach the final series, where they were meeting Cocodrilos de Matanzas for the 2nd year in a row. Granma was down 3-2 but came back to win it in 7 games for their 2nd straight title, 4th in the last 6 years, the first 4 titles in the team's 46-year history. The South African Baseball Championships of 2022 was dominated by Cape Town. Playing at home, Cape Town disposed of the other finalist, Gauteng, in 7 innings by the score of 11-1. That brings us to the summer leagues. We'll start in Europe, where they're usually the world's first summer leagues to crown a champion. I wouldn't know half of these if not for an article from Dutch Baseball Hangout. Link in the description for that article if you want to read about these champions more in detail. In Czech Baseball Extraliga, the team that's dominated the league over the past 3 decades were on top once again. Draží Brno took care of Hrosý Brno in a crosstown classic for the Czech series. It was their 23rd league title. Their last one came in 2020. New champion in Germany's Baseball Bundesliga. 3-time defending champions Heidenheim were beaten in the semifinals. 2 teams from the north met up in the final series, the Bonn Capitals and the Paderborn Untouchables. Bonn won the best-of-5 series in 4 games for their second Bundesliga title. The last one was in 2018. A welcome change in the Honkbal Hoofdklasse of the Netherlands. After 9 straight years of the same 2 teams meeting up in the Holland Series, HCAW were able to end their dominance. With a 3-1 series win in the semifinals over defending champions Amsterdam and a 4-0 sweep of Neptunus in the Holland Series, HCAW won their first championship since 1998, their 3rd overall. The champion of the Italian League is not even Italian. The tiny nation of San Marino won their 2nd consecutive title, winning Game 7 in extra innings over Parma. It was the 5th title overall for San Marino, all coming in the last 12 years. 2 teams from each of those leagues gathered at mid-season in Bonn, Germany for the European Cup. The hometown Bonn Capitals claimed bronze. In the championship game, Parma beat the Amsterdam Pirates for their 2nd title in a row and their 15th overall, the most of any team in the European Cup history. In the Spanish Baseball League, the Tenerife Marlins and Astros Valencia met in a rematch of the 2021 final series. Marlins won it with a 3-game sweep, their 2nd in a row, and 5th in the last 6 years. Overall, it was their 15th, 2nd most in league history. In the French League, the Rouen Huskies had a new opponent, but it was the same result. The Huskies won their 7th consecutive league title and 17th overall, all in the last 20 years. They took care of Savigny-sur-Orge in the championship series 3-1. In Austria, the Vienna Wanderers won title number 6, 3-2 over the Dornbirn Indians with a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th. In Belarus, the league's most dominant team, BC Minsk, won another championship 3-1 over the Logoshin Wolves. After losing the first game, Minsk won the next 3 by the scores of 25-13, 22-2, and 14-2. In Belgium, the Hoboken Pioneers successfully defended their 2021 title, winning 3-1 over the Derna Spartans, the 9th championship for the Pioneers. The Bulgarian championship went to the Sofia Blues for the 5th straight year as they swept the Blagoevgrad Bisons in 3 games in a rematch of the 2021 final series. In Croatia, Olimpija Karlovac won its 18th title with a 4-game sweep of Baseball Club Zagreb. Denmark's champion is a team from Sweden. The Malmö Pilots dethroned the 2021 champions Aarhus Baseball in a single-game final. In Finland, the Espoo Expos avenged their loss in the 2021 championship series by beating the defending champion Tampere Tigers in a 3-game sweep by a combined score of 36-8. It was title number 18 for the Expos. Title number 6 and 5th in a row for British champions the London Mets. They met the London Capitals in the 1-game final, winning it 9-4. The Budapest Red Wolves won their 7th Hungarian championship with an easy 3-game sweep of the Debrecen Tigers. 3 wins by a combined score of 33-2. In Ireland, the Greystone Mariners were looking for their 3rd straight title, but they were denied by the Ashbourne Giants. The Giants beat the Mariners 13-12 in the championship game for their first ever league title. In Lithuania, BK Vilnius won their first championship in 2021. In 2022, they won their 2nd, sweeping 3 games from Utenos Titani by a combined score of 29-4. In Norway, Vålerenga Baseball finished the season undefeated. In the single-game championship, they had little trouble but prevailed in the end, 6-5 over the Kristiansand Suns in 7 innings. League title number 20 for Stal Kutno in Poland. They swept 3 games from KS Silesia Rybnik to repeat as champions of the Polish League. A best-of-3 series was played in the Portuguese Championship, but 2 games were all that was needed. The Lolé Ravens beat Piratas Daria by the scores of 12-6 and 15-0 to win it all. A three-peat for Rustar, with a 3-game sweep of Moskovich in the championship series. Rustar defended the Russian title. In Slovakia, Apollo Bratislava won their 11th league title with a 3-game sweep of Tavarna Angels. In Sweden, the Rätvik Butchers avenged last year's loss in the final series, knocking off defending champions the Leksand Lumberjacks, sweeping the series in 3 games. And one more in Europe. The Swiss title went to the Terreville Flyers for the 4th straight year. They swept 5 games from the Zurich Challengers by a combined score of 34-9. It was the 15th overall championship for the Flyers. Back to North America, the LMB title went to Leones de Yucatan, their 5th LMB title and first since 2018. In the regular season, Leones were 4th in the South Division with a record of 46-43. After taking out top-seeded Diablos Rojos in 7 games in the South Championship Series, Leones advanced to the Serie del Rey, where they met the 4th seed from the north, Sultanes de Monterrey. That one also went a full 7 games. Sultanes led 3-2, but Leones won the last 2 for a 4-3 series win. In Major League Baseball, the Houston Astros were winners of the 118th World Series. The Astros were 106-56 during the regular season. Best record in the American League, second best overall. Their dominance of the AL continued in the postseason as they swept both series to go into the World Series with a perfect record of 7-0. The National League champion, the Philadelphia Phillies, had just barely made the postseason, but they went 7-2 in the first 2 rounds of the postseason. In the World Series, the Astros won 4-2 for their second title, 5 years after their first one. We could count MLB as covering Canada as well as the U.S., but then Canada would be without a champion here. In the 103rd season of the Intercounty Baseball League, the London Majors topped the regular season standings with a record of 32-11. In the championship series, they took care of the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-2 to claim their second title in a row and their 14th overall. In Japan, the 73rd season of NPB saw a rematch of last year's Japan Series between the reigning champion Tokyo Yakult Swallows of Central League and Pacific League champions the Oryx Buffaloes. Swallows grabbed an early 2-0 lead in the series, but the Buffaloes got a pair of shutouts, a walk-off win, and a 5-4 win in the final game to take the series 4-2. The first Japan Series title for the Oryx Buffaloes since 1996, when they were known as the Oryx Blue Wave, their 5th title overall. In Korea, the KBO turned 40 this year. The SSG Landers led the standings from the beginning all the way to the end of the regular season, earning a trip to the Korean Series where they met the Kiwoom Heroes. They split the first 4 games at 2 apiece. Game 5 was the big one. Heroes led 4-0 through 7. Landers got a 2-run homer in the 8th and a 3-run walk-off blast in the 9th to win the game 5-4. In Game 6, Landers put the series away with a 4-3 win, taking the series 4-2. It was the 5th Korean Series title in team history, the first since 2018, and the very first under the name SSG Landers. Until 2020, they were known as the SK Wyverns. In the Taiwan Series, the Rakuten Monkeys were first-half champions and had the best overall record. The CTBC Brothers were second-half champions and were in the Taiwan Series to defend their 2021 title. For the second year in a row, the Brothers swept the series in 4 games, becoming the first team in the CPBL's 33-year history to sweep the series in back-to-back years. It was their 9th Taiwan Series title, just 1 behind the Uni Lions for the most in league history. The champions of Guam Major League were the Yigo Typhoons. Because of a drawn-out season full of rainouts, the championship series was reduced to a single game. The Typhoons beat the Junior Nationals 9-6 to win the championship. And this one just finished up last week. In Argentina, Los Falcons de Cordoba became the first 3-time champions of the Argentine Baseball League, which has only been running since 2017. They beat Águilas de Salta for their second title in a row. And that's it, the champions of the highest level of baseball in 40 countries. Again, if you know of any more, mention it down in the comments. Anyway, that's all for this one. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.